After a terrible Canadian Grand Prix for the Ferrari F1 team, they would have been hoping for a clean and simple race with good points in Spain. While they earned some decent points, though not enough to stop the charging McLaren team, the race was anything but clean and simple. With Carlos Sainz fighting for the best possible contract he can get elsewhere, and Leclerc desperate to prove his powers before Hamilton joins up with the team next year, the tension was always going to grow between the two. In Spain, it boiled over, and contact on track turned into a war of words off track. Today, I'll check it all out, so don't go anywhere. With Mercedes stepping up to the battle at the front, Ferrari are now in a four-way fight for potentially a world championship. The increased competition at the front of the field means everyone has to up their game in the development battle. Ferrari managed to fast-track some upgrades for the Spanish Grand Prix, which weren't due until Silverstone. They included a new high downforce rear wing and beam wing, offering what it claims is a wider range of effectiveness. The side pod undercut and the Coke bottle cutaway at the rear were both enhanced with the aim of increasing downforce at the rear of the car, and the floor fences at the tunnel inlet were realigned to fully exploit this. The roof of the floor itself was lowered at the front to enhance the effect. The new floor also incorporates a new shaped central canoe section between the tunnels, revised floor edges, and a new diffuser geometry. That is a huge list of changes, so Ferrari would have been hoping for a big step forward in performance. What actually happened, though, was that they finished qualifying behind both Mercedes and a full third and a half of a second behind Lando Norris. Starting the Grand Prix in 5th and 6th, they would have hoped to have made moves forward and fought for a good podium position, but an early incident between Charles and Carlos hampered their efforts. The two Ferrari cars eventually finished where they started in Spain, with Leclerc coming home in 5th ahead of Sainz in 6th, but the pair offered very different post-race opinions on their early tussle on track. Leclerc had initially been ahead on track and was looking to save tyres early on in the race when he found himself squeezed on the inside by Sainz into turn 1 on lap 3 of 66. The two briefly made contact before the Spaniard skewed off track as he took the position to boot. It was good, hard racing, and the stewards viewed it as such, with the contact being declared a racing incident. That probably should have been the end of it. However, when that kind of incident happens between two teammates who would have had a joint strategy before the race began to try and reel in the Mercedes ahead, it does seem like something has gone wrong, and post-race, Charles Leclerc was quick to call out Carlos Sainz. It's a shame, as the team had told us before the race to save the tyres at this moment in this race, and I was doing exactly that in the last corner, which is a really good corner to save, said a disgruntled Leclerc. And we knew that we had to both save, and Carlos used that one lap pushing in turn 14 and was very close to me and overtook, which was fine, but he obviously did the corner like I was not there. It's a bit of a shame, but anyway, we'll speak internally. It's not a big deal. I understand it's his home race and a very important moment of his career, and he wanted to do something spectacular, and I probably wasn't the right person to do that with. To call out his teammate in such an open manner shows just how unhappy Charles was with the incident. In an age of perfect media training and PR people at every interview, saying his teammate was to blame because he was trying to get a new contract elsewhere is big. The two were spotted in the pit lane after getting out of their cars having an in-depth conversation, presumably about that incident on lap 3. Leclerc continued to point out that the incident had cost him some car damage, which, when the margins were so tight, could have made all the difference. With a Ferrari man running out of time to chase down George Russell late on after his teammate had led him back past. It's okay, I think he'll see the image and he'll understand that I was on the inside and that he couldn't turn in at that point, was the Monegasque's final assessment. Charles was sure that it was Carlos's fault the two collided, but the soon-to-be ex-Ferrari driver wasn't so sure. I think too many times he complains after a race about something. Obviously hot, he might think that, Sainz said. Honestly, at this point of the season, I don't know. I was on the attack, we were on a new soft, Mercedes were on a used soft, and we had to go on the attack in the first laps when you're on a new tyre and try to pass them, like we said even before the race. I passed Charles because I don't know if he made a mistake or he was managing a bit too much. There is probably truth in what Leclerc said. Carlos is out of contract at the end of this season, and while he will definitely have a drive next year, where that is still a mystery, with Alpine having thrown their name into the ring alongside Sauber and Williams. How well he drives up until he gets that contract is important. The better a driver appears to be, the better the terms he can get in his contract. That could be more money. It could be preferential treatment when upgrades are only available for one car. It could be a better performance-based brake clause. At the same time, there is still a lot at stake this season. The two Ferrari drivers are very tightly matched in the Drivers' Championship, with Leclerc leading Sainz 148 points to 116. They have a race win each as well, and the majority of the gap between the two can be put down to Sainz missing a race earlier in the season to get his appendix out. Ferrari might try to pull team orders early in the season to help the driver who will still be with them next year, but until they do, Carlos and Charles are free to fight. As long as that fight doesn't affect the Constructors' Championship. With Sergio Perez showing that the Red Bull car isn't that strong anymore, and that we were maybe underestimating just how good Max Verstappen is, Red Bull are vulnerable. Red Bull lead from Ferrari by 60 points, but with 14 races left yet, that gap is nothing. One of the Ferraris should have gotten ahead of at least George Russell. Leclerc got close at the end of the race and probably only needed another lap to make the pass. Did the collision with his teammate early on lose him the half a second of race time needed to pass Russell before the checkered flag? Yes, almost definitely. That is a problem for Ferrari, and a problem they'll need to solve as they pursue a first championship title since the noughties. In response to the growing rumours of discord, Ferrari team boss Fred Vasseur swiftly addressed the media to clarify the situation. Vasseur downplayed the severity of the clash between his drivers and emphasised their strong relationship off the track. He commented, "Out of the car, they have a very good relationship and a good mutual trust. Now they are racers. For sure you can have this kind of case. It's also because you had little between them and this competition all over the season. Sometimes what happened today is part of the game." With the Austrian Grand Prix coming this weekend, Ferrari haven't got long to sort things out behind the scenes. With Sainz leaving next season and a contract elsewhere guaranteed, there's no reason for him to play nicely anymore. The same is true with Leclerc. He has a drive for next year, so if Carlos wants to start a fight with him, there's no reason for him to turn it down. It doesn't do him any good putting his hands up and saying, "I'm not getting involved, you go ahead of me, mate." With Hamilton as a teammate next year, Charles is going to be given no quarter, so he may as well get used to this. Leclerc has now slipped out of second place in the Drivers' Championship, losing the place to McLaren's Lando Norris. Verstappen might be starting to stretch out of reach, but every place matters to these drivers. Both Ferrari drivers have plenty to prove, so while the team might want to keep the contest as low-key as possible, once they get on track, no one will hold back. Do you think either driver is to blame for what happened in Spain? And is this just the start of an ongoing battle between the two? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.